Did you do the right thing?
Do the right thing.
All righty. So listen, y'all. Today, we're going to go ahead and take it into the next level. What have we spent most of the time doing concerning the question of these fallen angels? We've been as a matter of fact, all of the reading has been designed to demonstrate not just the presence of angels in the spiritual realm, because most people already accept that. So the objective of what we've been reading is to show the presence today of what? Of evil angels in the Most High's abode, in the Most High's spiritual realm. That's been the whole objective, to refute the idea that the fallen angels came down and had sex with mortal women and produced, various races of giants. That's not what went down. So this is where we are. I have one more verse actually come to my mind that I'm going to give you that demonstrates the evil entities still in the spiritual realm and under the orders, of course, still under the control of the Heavenly Father. So let's go to 2 Corinthians real quick, and then we'll move on. 2 Corinthians, let me see if I want it to be chapter 8 or chapter 4. 2 Corinthians chapter, where am I? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it might be 1 Corinthians. Hold up. Let me make sure. It's chapter 10. No, it's 2 Corinthians chapter 12, y'all. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Elisha, I want you to do the reading until I'm yet as I get in, okay?
Yeah.
2 Corinthians chapter 12. And we're just going to read from verses 6 to verse 9. Let me see. First, verses 6 to verse 10. All right. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Now, what's the purpose of this? We want to show you that even Paul, right, spoke of Satan being sent against him with the intention of keeping Paul humble. So go ahead and read that out. 2 Corinthians chapter, and listen, I want you guys have to take notes. If I'm going fast, you're going to have to say, you have to let me know if I'm going too fast, because I might get into it. And you guys, you have the recording, but I'm saying that because today I want you brothers to receive. I don't want you to try to offer the verses, because I'm giving it to you. I want you to get this breakdown, and then you can study it and see where the things, because you know what, once you here we come. Once you get the quote clear on the verses and topics, then of course you can bring in a lot of scriptures in an expanded sense. You understand? Of the very same topic. Hey, shalom, Amiyatisa.
Shalom.
Hey, listen, if we're in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, getting ready to read, you're going to read verses 6 through 10, all right? 2 Corinthians chapter 12. So yeah, brother, so I was just letting them know, I want them to, if you're not taking notes because you got the recording, then cool, but I don't want you to offer up verses, because I want you to get the verses, and then I want you to study the topic, study this that I'm giving it to you, so that you can understand it. Then, like I said, you can begin to add the proper verses to deal, let's say, to add to the subject in an expanded sense. But what we need, for the most part, is the most surgical approach to the topic, and that's what I'd be giving you. And then, especially with a topic like the one that we're dealing with this topic of fallen angels, but the scriptures that we're dealing with are providing a foundation of your reasoning in the scriptures. You know, that's a big deal with the Most High. The ability to take the scriptures and come to conclusions about things that are not written, but based on other things that are firmly written and established. That's what reasoning is. Let's say you got a question that comes in, and you're giving, quote, let's say an opinion. But your opinion, or let's say you're giving, I say your opinion, but you're breaking it down, and your explanation comes under question because the thing that you're speaking on, it really isn't written. And I always use the easiest idea, the easiest concept I always use is abortion to help people understand the concept of the power that the Most High has given you through the scriptures of reasoning. So you won't find a scripture, will you, that says thou shalt not pull the baby out the womb. You won't find it, it's not there. But how do we know it's wrong? Aside from thou shalt not murder. Because you go to the law, and there's a law about if two men are striving and one of them hit a woman that's carrying a child, and her seed depart from her. And that's the scripture that says, then you take it to the priest. It says, and if no mischief follow, that means if the baby don't die, or the actual mother. Two men is fighting, and one of them hits a dude, and the dude that get hit falls into the woman, and the woman loses, has a miscarriage. That's in there. So the course of action to follow is if the baby or the parent doesn't die, then what happens? Then they got to go to the priest. The father goes to the judges, and the judges and the priests determine what is fair, right? That means nothing happened. The baby, came out, but it was born, it was healthy. But it says if mischief followed. That means if somebody between the mother and the child have both died, that's the verse that says, then you shall render eye for eye, tooth for tooth, and it goes down that list. Now remember, that is provided under the circumstance that a woman is accidentally, or a woman is hit, and she is caused by an accident of no one's intention, and it caused her to lose her seed. If the baby died, the person who actually bumped, not the one that hit him, not the guy that hit the dude in the jaw that fell into the woman, the man that actually hit the woman. If she died, if the baby died and she lived, he dies. Now that's an accident. So now I'm using that. So using something that's written that is firm, then I can what? Then I can reason, I can muse upon, then how much more severe a punishment would the Most High think worthy that person of, even the woman, if she of her own volition, if it's her decision to abort a baby, right? What have I just used? I've used reasoning. And my reasoning is strong because it's based on something that I read in the scriptures that shows you how serious the Most High is about the seed of man in a woman and somebody causing her to lose it. You understand? So I'll take that as an example to show that's what you're going to be doing with this. There is no scripture that says, and so Adam was the fallen angels. But you have to use the verses that I gave you to build an argument that demonstrates, well, wait a minute. Well, at what point, what year did Satan get cast out of heaven with the 1/3 of angels? Or whatever the myth that the person you're dealing with is spreading, whatever the lie is. Because here we are, now go ahead and read 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 6 through 10.
Cool. The scripture you're just referring to is Exodus 21, verse 22 to 25.
Read that, please. Now, let me say this. I'm glad thank you, Amietazar, because this right here is your foundation to reason upon the subject of abortion. They don't say shit about my body, my choice, right? You got guys that get girls pregnant and don't know, and they go out and get an abortion. You have men that get women pregnant, and then they want to make sure they listen, they won't take care of the baby, but if it lives, but they'll front the money to kill it. You have men like that. Israel is full of them. They'll find the money to get an abortion. But if that baby was born, they will not find a job. So go ahead and read that, Amietazar. Call it out again, please.
Exodus chapter 21 and verse 22 to 25. Verse 22. If men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow.
That means what? The baby did not die as a result, or she did not die as a result. She's miscarried. Go ahead.
He shall be surely punished, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine.
So that means it's not just because the man gonna be rabid, right? He's gonna be angry as hell. So who's involved as well? The judges. The judges keep it from becoming unfair. Yes, hold on. We know this horrible situation. The baby, but the baby is alive and it's healthy. Premature, but you know what? We can remedy that. But he still gets a punishment and a fine. The punishment is usually gonna be an ass whooping. He's gonna get beat with a cane, but he can't get no more than 40 stripes. Those are the things those were the instances where men or women were beat. This whole thing about women not getting beat, that's a whole nother topic. Those are the whole things about men getting beat. There were things where he wasn't worthy of death, but he has to understand the level of his conduct, the negligence. This is why people back in the old Western days would be like, let's take it outside. They weren't about to shoot up the niggas' saloon. That's where they come and have a drink and get their horse. They would go outside, everybody would find out and come out there and be standing on the sidewalk as though no straight bullets was gonna happen. Why? Because these cats were shooting at each other in the middle of the road. That's how it went down. So in the Bible time, that comes from what? Men selling it like this. So if no mischief follow, the judges what? They preside over the decision and they come up with what is fair concerning the outcome. What is fair for a woman who was physically injured to the degree where she had a miscarriage, but the baby lived and she lived. Of course, they're gonna need some medical attention. That's part of what the compensation is. Continue to read, Amayatazar.
Verse 23 of Exodus 21. And if any mischief follow.
Now, if any mischief, who knows what the word mischief means? Harm. Mischief ain't the little rascals.
Come.
Mischief is literally, the word mischief means harm or injury. Somebody put that on the screen real quick, Amayatazar. Mischief in the 1828. Y'all stay where you are. Now, all I'm doing is using this as an example to show what the Most High is equipping you all with. What has he equipped us with? He's equipped us with the ability to what? To argue and advocate on his behalf. This is how he teaches us how to think. And we go what? We grow in learning how to think like him. Not in his capacity, but in his framework. Listen to this. See? Mischief. Bro, you guys scroll down. Harm, hurt, injury, damage, evil, whether intended or not. All right. Thank you. That's beautiful. And then the verb is said to hurt, to injure, harm. So he's saying if mischief follow, that means if what? If because of this woman being hit by the man that fell into her or whatever, she what? The baby dies or suffers a serious injury, or she suffers a serious injury or is killed herself. Go ahead. I'm going to have to continue. Call the verse out.
Verse 23 of Exodus 21. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life.
See, that means if the baby dies, or if the mother dies, or if both of them die, you got to kill that nigga twice. You got to kill him and then hang him. I'm just being facetious, but you see what I'm saying. Life for life. Go ahead.
Verse 24. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth.
The baby could be damaged, something, tooth for tooth. The woman, right, could have got her tooth knocked out, hit her head on something and knocked out her tooth, broke her jaw. Imagine having to wait to get your jaw broke. And by somebody that don't necessarily know how to do it. That means a nigga gonna hit you a few times. But all you gotta do if you need to break somebody's jaw is you catch them on the TMJ, the temporal mandibular joint. That's that little thing that point out right by your ear. That's where it's at. You got your ear and then that little bitty, the arrow that's coming outward. I guess that arrow is like, this is where the noise is supposed to come from, right? Well, you know what I'm talking about. You pin them with a hammer fist right down. This ain't what class is about, but you never know. You might need to shut a nigga up. You pin them right there, foul, and it's like a joint. It's what's called a TMJ. You knock the nigga, you literally break their jaw like that. So imagine now, Israel definitely had that type of knowledge. Oh my God, you done broke this woman's jaw. Or just be still. Come on now, this will be over quick. nigga, we walk around like this, you know, and then you go back and get your shit wired up, all right, eye for eye. But if you're gonna be to knock some woman's eye out, the baby's eye out, dented that head, imagine trying to dent somebody's head following the law.
Mhm.
That's how, listen, and this is why, well, this is a study in and of itself, but this is what Christ came for. Why did the Most High deal like this with us in the old times? Because he was teaching us to be responsible for our actions and our words. That's why. And this is what, it's designed to make what Christ came to perform more valuable to us. Because Israel, we are a vengeful, bloodthirsty people. Y'all know that. Imagine if Christ didn't come and we were still rolling like that even in Israel. People like, remember, we was Israel back then, full-fledged Israel. We're recovering Israel. Like we're Israelites that have been we're basically the walking dead, walking back into who we are. So all of that, yes, I finished it up. Is that it? Verse 25, or that was verse 24?
No, that was verse 24.
Go ahead and read on.
Verse 25. Burning for burning, wound for wound.
Damn, you be to knock her into the fire, brother. Imagine somebody coming up to you with a torch. Now hold still. This is going to hurt you more than it does me. Go ahead. Burning for burning. Continue.
Stripe for stripe.
Stripe for stripe. Let's say the nigga duck and you hit the woman in the jaw. Like them old westerns, the guy coming with a chair, the nigga ducking. Pow! Hit somebody and turn around on the bar and then the whole bar is fighting. Don't y'all love the movies? Oh, that's right. I forgot. I'm like 90 years older than y'all. Y'all probably don't even know what a Western movie is. Like Western movie, all y'all know is West Coast, right? Western movie, right? Anyway, go ahead, I'm gonna get this down. So that means that the person listen, this is real because the person got burned. All of this justice had to be meted out in a meticulous manner, depending on what? Depending on what happened to the woman and or the child. Go ahead.
Stripe for stripe.
All right. So now, what did we just do? I provided us with the verses that help me. Now listen, remember what you just got. You just got the judgment that happens if a man performs something that results in a woman accidentally losing her child. Think about that. Now, based on what you just read, imagine how much more severe the Most High reckons a person is worthy of if the murder of that child is intentional. You see what I'm saying? Now, what have you just did? You used the Bible to deal with something that's concrete, to establish a foundation of what? How the Most High feel about infanticide. And now you've applied that reasoning to something that is not written. And the Most High tells you in the Apocrypha that ability is the trial of man. That's what our whole life is about, is to be able to find out how we can take this knowledge and grow to think like the Most High, to end up with that reasoning. Okay, so that said, that's what we've been doing with all the scriptures that we've received concerning the Old Testament, the angels, the negative angels, the evil angels, the righteous angels, Satan himself being what? Being an actual instrument. Yes, brother.
Hey, this is Marwilla.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't recognize the hand. Go ahead.
Now, I had a question, like, pertaining to the same topic. Does it involve, like, as far as in, like, dealing with, like, miscarriages, like, as far as in, like, sacrificing your baby to Molech, is that, like, another explanation? Like,
something happened. Yeah, this out. You got to be still. Say that again. Is that like what?
Is that like another way or another explanation for like miscarriaging of a baby?
No, miscarriages, the baby is in. Now, listen, there's stuff that they doing today, what they call post-birth or postpartum abortion. It's not abortion, it's murder. It's actually that what you're talking about. Miscarriages if the child is in the woman and she's something happens and she is she releases the baby before its term. Like my wife have had 2 miscarriages, nothing that just one time, let me see. Yeah, she failed. But anyway, the point is, it's an accident. It's something that sometimes the body just rejects the fetus, and other times some type of trauma is suffered. Yeah. You understand? Yeah. So That's what a miscarriage is. What you're speaking of is a person setting out to just kill a person, to kill an infant. That's it. All right. And that's even worse because why? Why did the difference is in that what we just read in Exodus is about an accident and justice being done and in a fair way. But the other one is about idolatry. And so that person has to die, period. There's no, you understand? It's not an accident, it's an intentional action set out to be performed in recognition of a demon. All right?
Come. All right.
Okay. All right, brother. So like I said, so what are we doing? We've been reasoning. We've been using the scriptures to strengthen our reasoning concerning the idea of who the fallen angels are. Now, remember, you won't find fallen, those two words together, you won't find fallen angels. That's the term that they give it. Just like you won't go in the Bible and find the word Nephilim. Remember, we looked for that. You can't find it. You'll see it in the concordance. And what does it say? It says, see giants. Well, why did you say put giants? Why did you put that concordance? It ain't in the Bible. Ain't the concordance supposed to be the document that helps you to find all the verses that's in the Bible based on the words that are in the Bible? So why would you put something in that says Nephilim, and then the definition of Nephilim or the reference for Nephilim, it says sea giants. We know giants. So what are we doing? We're taking these scriptures and we're strengthening our argument through reasoning. So everything that we've learned raises the question concerning evil spirits and including Satan in the spiritual realm still. Everything what? Everything requires the question, well, then if this happened, when? Because so far as recent as the New Testament, he's still in heaven. So let's read this last one before we go into now the sons of the Most High, who in other words, who those true fallen angels are. Go ahead, Amiyatazar. So we were at 2 Corinthians chapter 12, and you were getting ready to read verses 6 through 10.
2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 6. For though I would desire to glory, I shall not be a fool, for I will say the truth. But now I forbear, lest any man should think of me above that which he seeth me to be.
Now, what is he doing? He's speaking concerning the potential for him. When he says glory, he's talking about he could glory in how the Most High is using him. You know, the thing that Israel seemed to be doing all day, every day, all the different camp heads, right? Boasting about how they're being used, how many men the Most High brought in the truth through them, all of these things, all the way down to the school colors, all the way down to a damn address on your jacket. I don't get that, but I'm gonna move on, right? Brothers got addresses sewn into their garments. That ain't even the address of their school. They literally commemorate a building that we all got taught in. But what was it anything? Is that building anything? No. What made the building holy is what? Is what took place in the building. Not that that's not being taken. Why do I want to have that address on my? It might be a damn Chinese whorehouse. Who the hell knows? I'm just trying to show you, man. These are different ways in which men glory, in which we boast, in which we call attention to ourselves for achievements done or things done. You know. That's what he posted. I'm not going to do that. Why? Because he's conscious. Because people don't need to begin to look at me or view me for more than what I really am. And then he's going to say, and the Most High, what? The Most High contributed to the dynamic that Paul was under to also make sure that people didn't see Paul for more than what he is, and that Paul didn't grow to think he was more than what he is in his own eyes. Because that's what the scriptures tell us, our knowledge puffeth up. We get this knowledge and we get prideful as hell. As if we was born with it. As if we literally got it downloaded matrix style from the Most High. No, you were wicked as hell. You were ignorant as hell. You did all types of black, vile things. And then the Most High had mercy and woke us up. That's how it went down. And the scriptures tell you that too. It said wisdom was with us and walked with us through crooked paths first. You understand? So the truth of the matter is, what do any of us have to glory about? Read on down, I'm gonna get to verse what? Verse 7?
No, we haven't finished verse 6 yet.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll start from the top, verse 6.
Thank you.
For though I would desire to glory, I shall not be a fool, for I will say the truth. But now I forbear, lest any man should think of me above that which he seems of that he seeth me to be, or that he heareth of me.
Oh, heareth them, because people was hearing the Most High was doing crazy things through Paul. Remember, we read about some of those things in his letters about how he, in the book of Acts, for instance, how when he was shipwrecked and ended up on an island of barbarians, he's sitting by a fire warming up, and a viperous snake bit him. And he lifted up his hand and just shook it off into the fire and sat back and kept on chopping it up with the men at the fire. And it says the men were waiting for him to swell up and die. And when he did, they decided to make what? Offerings of sacrifice to them, because the gods had descended. They were, our people were doing that. So he said, in other words, it was stories like that. It's accounts of events that surrounded Paul's ministry like that made people what? Began to kind of honor him above what the Most High wanted. Read on down on the verse 7.
Verse 7. And lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations.
The revelation meaning all the things that the term revelation, revealing, the Most High was showing Paul a lot. Why did Paul put it like that? Because Paul was a hardcore killer nigga Pharisee. You guys know that. So the Pharisees were blinded from the gospel. The Pharisees were blinded from who Christ really was, but the Most High opened Paul's eyes. And what? And guess what Paul became? That's why most people cannot understand the New Testament. And I mean the Israelites that reject Paul's works. You know why? Because Paul's reasoning is above their ability to understand. All of Paul's letters are filled with reasoning. And what does he use in those letters? He's always sourcing the Old Testament. Every now and then he'll source something in the gospel. But mostly he's sourcing the Old Testament. Because what? Because that's what the Pharisees were the masters of, the interpretation of the law. So when he got what? When he got the revelations that Christ gave him and that the people that were used to teach him, he literally was a spiritual Israelite apostle Superman in reasoning, huh? And that's why the Most High had to humble him. So here's the most important thing. Who did the Most High use to humble Paul? Once again, I'm going to get this out. Read it from the top of verse 7.
Verse 7. And lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me.
Satan, brother. So this is what the Most High Paul is saying. The Most High sent Satan as a messenger to me. And the message, Satan is the messenger. The message is stay humble. And the way that message was delivered was in the form of a bodily affliction, physical pain. And this is the New Testament now. So I'm still waiting for Satan's, expulsion date to pop up. Go ahead, read on down. I'll read that verse again, verse 7.
2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 7. And lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure.
So that other people didn't see him and have too high and hold him in too high an esteem, or that he didn't grow to hold himself in such a high esteem, like men that be talking about, yeah, my men. Nobody in this camp or in the nation is your men. We're all Christ's. He purchased us, not you. You catch man call himself superior general and don't know 10,000 soldiers, or commanding general and don't know, never been to a war. Don't got military guarantee, don't got military strategy, and don't look like a damn general. You got to at least look like you can go to war. Remember, our generals led people to war. They didn't send them off to war to die. David didn't stop going to war until he got injured, and the people said, no, you are not going out no more. Y'all know that. So I'm trying to say, I ain't out nobody. All I'm saying is there's all the ways that we could be humble. And I'm going to tell you this. That's how the Most High keep that's how the Most High keep me humble. I can only go so far before what? For my back flare up. before my damn knees get, before my body's out of it. It's the same with your father, Elisha. He can only go so far, be getting into it, and all of a sudden he's paralyzed by that damn back. Wrong or right? That's the Most High. Huh? That's the Most High keeping brothers humble. That's the Most High letting other people view our fallibilities to where now we need you. Well, brother, I need you guys to do this. You don't want to be sitting up laying in no bed with no ice pack on your damn back. People coming over visiting you, but that's how it got to be. Why? Because that's how the Most High keeps us humble. Huh? Damn, Rala, we was at the gym Tuesday. Rala was like, doing his boxing and shit, right? Damn, fly threw down his throat. Nigga threw up in the middle of the gym.
Wow.
I said, that's the Most High keeping you humble, brother. That's how it be, huh? Because you got people now, that hold him in esteem. The family. The legacy continues.
Yeah.
So that's how the Most High keep you humble. Look at what I went through. During our days, broken ribs. You got right at your peak. How long did it take for you to get over that torn oblique?
Months.
Yeah, that's what he does, huh? Because even if you listen, it's always pride, huh? We always feel too great about some fleshly attribute. Yes, intellect is a fleshly attribute as well. They call it what? They call it intelligence or IQ. Well, if you're so smart, let me see you get rid of this. And the Most High hit Paul with it. Read it again and then move on down. Verse 8. Now, what are we doing? What is this purpose? It's to show Satan is still being sent out as a messenger to what? To keep the Most High's righteous apostles humble. He ain't just punishing the wicked. He's still there. What did Paul do this time? Paul didn't do nothing. Shut up. I just want you to keep him humble. Go on over there and do this to him. Go ahead, read on.
2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 7. And lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure.
That happened to be with you guys one day. I don't see almost nobody. Maybe Amiyata might have been there. I don't know. I think Elisha, you was off at school, but one night, a couple of years ago, close to 3 years ago now, man, I got so damn angry at the crowd. I'm talking about the congregation here in Texas, and I went off. I went the F off, cussing and calling the people church folks and stuff like that. And I got to bed that night and I woke up with a foot that was damn swollen and in excruciating pain and didn't heal for a whole year.
It was the Calling All Lions class.
Huh? It was?
I think it was Calling All Lions. I think that was the class.
Damn, so at least you saw the video, right? Hey, so you do know it, right? Hey, listen, I paid for that.
Yes, you remember.
So y'all, don't be rebelling. Whatever you do, don't follow. Get the scriptures, but exclude the example. Listen, I tell you the excruciating pain. I was depressed. I called the war. I was like, I think the Most High is done with me, brother. I crossed the line out. I'm not gonna lie, I was just frustrated because I had no response, no life. Y'all in church, can't focus down, went off. And literally, that didn't take 24 hours like the next day. But the Most High had grace and mercy out because he gave me about 2 or 3 good days of just being like a fearing of dying. But listen, I was in such excruciating pain. For the first 6 months, I could only lay down in my bed with my leg up so that the blood would come down. My foot felt like it was gonna pop. I literally had church lady legs, huh?
Oh, what?
The ones that be eating the pork where the stockings can't even come past the calf. Everybody been to church. Y'all know there's a couple of sisters like that.
My grandma. Yeah.
Brother. Then you're talking about a whole year of rehab, and it took the longest to get the better. And then when we finally got better, then the other one went off, messed up, and it's still swollen. And it's been about a year and a half now. So the Most High, when you be feeling your oats, so to speak, and feeling yourself, the Most High will sting your ass. And it'll be still, I'm walking around here now at the bank on crutches. The people see me on crutches, let me in first. It was, like they do old folks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm talking about, just humiliating. big ass foot, brother, running around here with a sock on it. And I just finally pulled let me see, 2 weeks ago, stopped wearing, they have stockings that are long socks that are laced with and sewn in the fabric copper to help circulation. That's how bad it was, right? And I tried to get some medicine into the country. Now, I still got it. Our custom still got it. $1,000 of some stuff that was going to help out my circulation. The most I didn't even let it get to me. It's still in customs right now. They say I got to get licensed for that stuff. I've been bringing that stuff in for years. You know what? Because the Most High wanted me to suffer. And think before you speak next time, mud. That's what we are. Most High call us earth and ashes. Like, that's mud. All right. Okay, I'm going to get this done. Read verse 8.
2 Corinthians
So
chapter
you
12.
remember that I got to go back and find. No, I'm too ashamed. I'm not going to go back and find it. Let me scratch the title of that from my mind. I want that day to go away. Go ahead, brother. I'm like Job with that one. Lord, let that whole week disappear. Go read on, like verse 8.
2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 8. For this thing I besought the Lord thrice, that it might depart from me.
So why is he praying to the Lord for that ailment? Because he knows that's the Most High that sent Satan. He's prayed. He said, I prayed thrice. I prayed 3 times. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee.
Guess what that means? See, most people don't understand what that means. But you have the key is in understanding what grace is. Grace is you being given a gift that you don't deserve. It's clemency. So when Paul asked to be healed, the Most High said, the fact that I'm using you is good enough for you. Nigga, you ain't supposed to be an apostle. Remember, Paul was persecuting the church, and his actions resulted in them being condemned to death. So when he said, my grace is sufficient, the fact that you're being used at all is what? Is good enough for you. The fact that you're on the list for salvation is good enough for you, because Christ said, whatever you did to the least of him, you did it to him. And that's why when Christ stopped him, Christ said, Paul, why persecutest thou me? That's the proof. You can't just do any old thing to the Most High people. You can't just, listen, you can't upgrade them like I did. That thing, that title that you got, Eliashai, that dynamic is what the Bible describes as upbraiding. And it tells you upgrade people up. It tells you, it says it's more easy to reconcile if you don't come to argument with your brother to the point where y'all done pulled swords out on each other. Y'all done drew guns down on each other. He said, you can recover from that, but upgrading, you've lost them forever. So the fact that y'all are still here is a blessing toward myself, or in the sense of being demonstrated or shown mercy. So this is what the Most High does. Like, he uses Satan to test us. He uses Satan to what? To try us in the sense of what? Afflict us, to keep us humble. And then he also uses Satan to chastise us. But he's there, like all the other angels. He's right there, right along with, the healing angel, Raphael or Raphael. He's right there with Uriel. He's right there with Gabriel. He's right there with Michael, right there with Yahushua, right there with all the demons that's on his side. War in heaven. If that was war in heaven, then Christ have condemned us to perpetual war on earth. You know why? Because what does his prayer say? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So you can forget about peace on earth and goodwill toward men if, you know what I'm saying? If it goes the way the Christians say. But it ain't. It's harmony in earth, in the heavens, in the spiritual realm. Read one more, Amayetazar. Verse 9 again.
2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 9. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness.
So what did he tell Paul? I'm actually making you stronger. And that's what happened to all of us. But it's a process of what? And guess how he's making us strong? He's making us spiritually strong. Because there are things that we're challenged with and pit against. I can tell you what never happened During all of that time while I was being what? I don't know I would have had that type of strength. But guess what never happened during the time, the first time my left leg was messed up for a whole year, 2 3 months, and my right leg all the way up until now, never ceased having class. That's called spiritual strength. Because when you're in excruciating pain, what is it that we normally do? Our mind fixates on that. And we become weaker people. I can't do this because of this. I can't do this. But I watched the war do. The war is backwards. He said, you know what? I'm just going to go out tomorrow. I'm going to get up. And he did it. Here's what you got to do it. So what was it that compelled us? Yahweh Shai, the desire to please the Most High, the desire to be a demonstration and do what the scriptures say. What? It says endure hardness like a good soldier, like it says in 1 Timothy chapter 2. You got to do that. You have to embrace it. So he's saying you won't grow. Your strength won't increase unless I put you in a circumstance where I become your motive for keeping on. Because your motive and your will ain't good enough. And that's the truth. You get people that get sick and they get a death sentence from cancer or whatever, and they lose the will to live in about 3 days. But before that, no problem. Just went and got a checkup, and the doctor said, you know what, we're going to have to do some tests. I just found a little anomaly, little lump. The worry for the lump kills the people. Okay, read on down, Amayetazar.
2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9 from the top. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Yahweh Shai may rest upon me.
He's letting us know that's the price we pay, so that the virtue of Yahweh Shai can emanate and work through us. And look who he's using all of that to make you worthy. He's using the affliction introduced to you and imposed by Satan. To what? To confirm you to be a valid vessel, right? To be an accepted vessel so that you can carry the virtue of Yahweh Shai. Read on down, last verse 10.
Verse 10. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities.
So what is that? Now, what is that? That's a demonstration of what? Of your disposition while you're catching him. Paul says, I take pleasure. That means he embraces. And if I'm going to boast or glory about anything, what I'm going to boast in is the fact that I'm catching hell for Christ. I'm catching hell because of Christ. I'm catching hell because I'm a believer. That's what I'm going to glory of. So this one he's saying, I take pleasure. That means what? That means he embraced that he accepts and embraces that's the dynamic through which the Spirit of the Most High in Christ is evoked upon a person. Read on down, like verse 10 from the top, and we're done.
Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses, for Yahweh Shai's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong.
So what does that mean? That means that spirit of the virtue of Christ ain't powerful in you until you've been catching hell, until you've grown acclimated to love and embrace the hell, the affliction. And that's when the old Obi-Wan or Darth Vader saying it's true that the force is strong with this. Because Obi-Wan was what? He was fronting all type of perils. Y'all know that. And then when this time came, he just opened up his arms and let that do you what? And then he became a force that spoke to people in their heads when they needed it. All this stuff is, let me say this out, it's in every movie for the most part. The paradigm of the battle between good and evil, that's everywhere, right? That lesson is there. It's in the Lord of the Rings, right? It's everywhere. And that you have to what? What was the key? And it's the same thing in the scriptures. What turned Anakin to the dark side to become Darth Vader? His fear for suffering loss. That's the same thing that turns us to the dark side. Our fear for suffering loss, losing the kid, losing the women, losing the respect and the esteem, losing our image, That nigga looking like a bum now, man. That brother used to be fire as hell. All the things that people be saying about you. And now you literally 25 cents away from having 2 nickels in your pocket. That's how it be in Israel. The Most High break you down. Okay, so what is that good for? All of that verses 6 through 10 is good for what is written in verse 7. It shows that Satan is still being used by the Most High even to keep apostles humble. So at what point, once again, did this cat get kicked out of heaven and take 1/3 of the angels and go out and start having sex with women? This is a hell of a movie, but it didn't happen. It's a hell of a script, Doc. I don't know why nobody won't put it in the movies. Or maybe they have, and it's just under maybe this is explaining the Greek what? The immortals, all of them movies. But anyway, so let's do this. Let's go back to Jude chapter 5 and 2 Peter. Well, let me say this. I want you to do 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 2 on the Yetazam, and then Jude verse 5 and 6, because now we're going to take it to the next, we're going to treat the next issue. The next issue is what are the Jude speak, we already covered in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4, where it spoke of the angels that sin. That was what we covered, like the first installment of this, right? We went about the law, how the angels don't sin. We covered all of that. So what we didn't cover was 2 things that both of them speak of, and that's that as a result, quote, according to Peter, of having sinned, the angels were shut up in everlasting chains of darkness. And according to Jude, what? For those who left their former estate, the very same fate. That what? The angels that left their former state, that they were shut up in darkness and everlasting chains. And guess what that's telling you, Ak? That means, and I'm going to prove it tonight, that it means that we were made mortal. That's it. And all the things, all the perils that we suffer because we're mortal. You think angels run around here getting COVID shots? Getting sick, getting diarrhea, get cold? The angels, the Most High said they are the fire, they are the cold. So let's start off with that. Let's read it again first. I'm gonna get this out. 2 Peter chapter 2 and read verse 4.
2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. For if the Most High spared not the angels that sinned.
We covered that already. We covered that. Go ahead.
But cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment.
Now, what does that mean? What does the term reserved mean? Let me show you something. I'm going to pull up that term reserved. Now, this is where they are. They're in hell, in chains of darkness, and they're being reserved until the day of judgment. Now, after he gets this definition, then we're going to go on to Jude and read, what Jude has to say concerning the chains of darkness as well. Jude refers to us, or these entities, right? These angels having left their former estate. That means they were, well, we'll deal with that later. He's getting it now. Looked at it, hold on. Kept for another or future use, retained, restrained from freedom in words or actions. Now, what does that tell you, Ak? That they're still what? They still have a purpose, but they're on standby and under conditions that they were once what? Impervious to. Thank you, Mama Yetazah. Y'all see that? Kept for another purpose or future use. Because people be reading this, they don't know what they're reading. Now, read 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 4 again.
2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. For if the Most High spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment.
That means what? To be used in the future, but what? After judgment. It says upon judgment, you're going to find out we're the ones who's going to execute the judgment on the world. The Most High is sending Christ to execute the judgment on the armies of the world. But all the nations and the people, the Most High tell you, the saints are going to do that. That's in the book of Psalms 149. That's Daniel chapter 7. It's all over the place. Okay, so we're going to deal with the chains after we get the one from Jude. Go to Jude. I'm going to read that. Read Jude, verse 5 and 6, because Jude is only one chapter.
Jude, verse 5. I will therefore put you in remembrance, though you once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believe not.
So he's talking about the event that took place, what, 40 years of the Most High purging our fathers after having left Egypt. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And the angels which kept not their first estate.
The angels, these entities which kept not their first estate, go ahead.
But left their own habitation, he have reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
All right, it's the same thing, in everlasting chains under darkness of the judgment of the great day. That means they're going to be released. They're in that whatever condition being in chains and darkness is, and as it said in Peter's being in hell, that is what? That is there until judgment comes. Now, first, let's look up what estate is. Go to that same dictionary, and look up estate. Now, of course, yes, brother.
I was wondering who is it talking about when you say they?
Hold on. Okay, say it again. When I say they,
Yeah, it's in the chains of darkness.
that's what we're finding out now. Let me say, but I'm gonna go on and get to the punch. It's talking about your forefathers from Adam. It's talking about Adam and all his generations. That's it. And the reason why it says that, who left there, did you get that definition?
Yeah.
Go ahead and put it up there. Thank you. There was a condition that we were in that changed after Adam's sin. So first, status, to stand. Now, you know what to stand mean. Like, let's say you're talking to a woman, or you're talking to a coach. What's my standing? Where do I stand? That's what status, to stand. The root STB, STD, STG have nearly the same signification, to set, to fix. It is probable that the Latin sto is contracted from the stad, and therefore it's talking about Latin grammar. Now listen to this. Number one, in a general sense, fixedness. When it says an estate, fixedness, a fixed condition, that means what? That means a circumstance of life. Let's look at the example. She cast us headlong from our high estate. It's talking about a person that had status. Now listen to this. Condition or circumstance of any person or thing. What circumstance? When it says what circumstance were the angels in before something happened? And then, in other words, the angels did something. And as a result of that something, they left their estate. They left that condition or circumstance. So we're showing you the whole person. And then number three, rank or quality, right? Okay, thank you, Amiyatazar. Now let's try this together. So when it says hell, you guys know hell is nothing more than suffering on earth, right? Okay, so give me some examples, Amiyatazar. I want you to go to Jonah, when Jonah got cast into the well. So go to chapter 1 of Jonah. And what we're going to do is we're going to read Jonah's prayer. But first we're going to read, in order to appreciate the content of his prayer, we have to read above in chapters 1 so that we can find out what he was praying about. All right. Jonah, we'll get there, chapter 1, and I want you to read verse 14 on down on the Yetazah. Now, what's taking place? Chapter 1, the Most High sends Jonah to Spain. It says Tarshish. Does anyone have a concordance? Do you have your physical concordance with you, Elisha?
I've got mine.
Yeah, but I want they're in person. I want them to see this. You can look yours up too. You don't? Does anybody? Huh?
We have one.
I want you to look up Tarshish. And you should have 2 entries and watch what the second one says.
Tarshish. Mighty ships fitted for long voyages.
Okay, hold on, go listen. Let me get mine so I can navigate through with you. Tarshish, the first one, it tells you what? It says, see Tarshish, and it says a son of Javan. Do you have this?
Khan.
Okay, what does number 2 say?
Mighty ships fitted for long voyages.
Is it now? What edition is yours? Because guess what mine tells you? See, I've been pulling stuff out. Mine says Spain. Tarshish is the geographical region of Spain, huh?
That's my fourth one, Roger.
Okay, so it's 4. So you do have it in there. Okay. Yetiza, what does yours have?
Yeah, my number 2 for me. Says,
Okay, number 1, when it says whatever the definition is, then it gives you all the verses in which the word Tarshish is used in that context, right? Then number 2, what does yours have for number 2, Eliashai?
Mine for number 2 was mighty ships fitted for long voyages.
And then it has verses where Tarshish is used in that sense, right? What is number 3?
Son of Bilhan, the grandson of Benjamin.
Okay, now, and then number 4, what does it say?
Tarsus in Spain.
Now, I'm going to show you something. What's the first chapter? What's the first verse that it offers you under that definition?
2 Chronicles 9:21.
Exactly. When the hero what? It's telling you that Solomon used to send fleets to what? To Spain. Huh? Thank you, Mama Yetiza. Make that a little bigger, please. Because that was one of our colonies, huh? And we split that colony, we split that territory with the people of Tyre and Zidon. The Phoenicians. Remember, the Phoenicians were our navigators, our shipmasters, beginning with Hiram. And so we would go, and guess what, Spain, Tarshish, it releases through what they call the Straits of Gibraltar. Hold on, brother. The Straits of Gibraltar and into the Mediterranean Sea. I'm sorry, from the Mediterranean Sea into the Atlantic Sea. This is how we knew about the Americas once the split took place. Okay, brother, what were you going to ask? Okay, what's your question?
So I was going to ask, which concordance is that? Is that a Strong's or which one is that?
It's a Strong's.
Just asking. Go on.
Okay, you're welcome. So what I'm trying to show you now, in the same one you have, he fell off, he'll come back. In the same one you have, Elisha, I want you to go down and find the passage in Jonah. What does it say?
Chapter 1.
Oh, you there? Okay, we didn't. On my screen, you fell off. Go ahead, Amiyatazar. Jonah chapter 1 and what?
14.
Read chapter 1. So let's read it from 14 on down.
Jonah chapter 1 and verse 14. Wherefore they cried unto the Lord and said, we beseech thee.
No. I wanted to read Jonah chapter 1 and verses 1 through 3.
Oh, okay. Jonah chapter 1 and verse 1. Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me.
So the Most High said, this place has gotten so wicked. That was the capital of the Assyria, the land of Assyria and the Assyrian Empire. They've gotten wicked. I want you to go prophesy against them. Read on down.
Verse 3. But Jonah rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord, and went down to Joppa. And he found a ship going to Tarshish.
So why was he going there? He was going there because that's where we dwelt. The place was full of silver mines in particular, but they had other industrial metals and a little bit of gold. Eventually, the Romans would take them out and us out there. Or Iberia. The section of it that we dwelt in was called Iberia. And the section of it that the Canaanites built in was called Spain, or was called Tarshish. That's where we were. So now what happens? He leaves, he decides to go to Spain. He finds the ship, the sea is tossing. And what happens is the men cast lots. They say, somebody in the anger they God, let's see what it is. Lot fell on Jonah, and Jonah told them, y'all throw me over the ship, man. If you throw me over the ship, I guarantee you, man, the sea's gonna calm down. And the men didn't want to do it. So now we pick up at verse 14. Go ahead, Ak.
Verse 14. Wherefore they cried unto the Lord and said, We beseech thee, O Lord, we beseech thee, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not upon us innocent blood.
Because they were getting ready to follow Jonah's commandment and throw him overboard. And they said, don't let us die. Don't let us, he's innocent. Don't let us die because of what we're doing to him. Go ahead.
For thou, O Lord, hast done as it pleased thee. So they took up Jonah and cast him forth into the sea. And the sea ceased from her raging.
It went calm immediately. Go ahead.
Verse 16. Then the men feared the Lord exceedingly, and offered a sacrifice unto the Lord, and made vows.
They began to what? They began to follow the Most High that day. Imagine that. Go ahead.
Verse 17. Now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights.
So what we find out in Matthew chapter 12, we find out that that big fish was a whale. Now let's see what Jonah has to say now. All of a sudden, Nineveh's not looking so bad, is it? Nineveh's not looking so bad this time of year, is it? Go ahead. Go ahead, Yatazar.
Jonah chapter 2, verse 1. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his power out of the fish's belly.
Where is Jonah at? Jonah is in physically the belly of a fish, or as Christ put it in Matthew chapter 12, the belly of a whale. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice.
Now you hear that, right? So what does hell mean? Now remember, why are we going here? Because in 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 4, it lets us know that the angels that sinned were cast into hell and put in chains of everlasting darkness, or everlasting chains of darkness until judgment, being reserved until judgment. So he's telling you that these entities that were angelic, whose intention, whose nature was to be like angels, they were like angels. That's why we already covered that. We'll cover it again, actually. You know, where it says in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2 that the Most High made man to be immortal. So that's what Adam was. And that's what when they talk about fallen, even that paradigm is referred to as the fall of man, is it not? But it wasn't the fall of man. It was the fall of God's son. It was the fall of angels, actually. And that's what the scriptures say. The angels that what? That sinned. The angels that left their former state. Read on down, Yatazar. So let's get a little bit more of this prayer and we'll get some more. Go ahead.
Verse 3 of Jonah chapter 2. For thou hast cast me into the deep, in the midst of the seas, and the floods compassed me about.
Go ahead.
All thy billows and thy waves passed over me.
You're going to read all the way down to verse 5. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 4. Then I said, I'm cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again toward thy holy temple.
He's a powerful man to have that be on the presence of his mind. Now remember, he's inside guts and stuff, y'all. He's in somebody's stomach. He's in a whale's stomach. Acids and stuff, weeds and plankton and all the stuff that you'll find in a whale's gut. There wasn't a bunch of ribs where you can make a fire like you in the cartoons, right? Where it's completely hollow and you make the fire and the smoke causes the whale to blow you out of his blowhole. he had to get vomited up. And you've thrown up, you know what that smell of bile is like, and all them chunks and bits of food. He was in hell, that's what it means. It means something. But
And
his hell was different than, Say it again,
and complete darkness.
Complete darkness, Read on down, I thank you. Verse 5.
Verse 5. The waters compassed me about, even to the soul. The depth closed me round about. The weeds were wrapped about my head.
That means he literally was smut. Whatever it was that the fish ate, that's where he was at. Now, I want you to get, you're going to find it in Psalms. You're going to find it in Samuel as well. Yes, it says, look for David's prayer when the Most High delivered him. All you got to do is look under it and look for help. David's going to tell you. It's going to say a prayer that David prayed when the Most High delivered him from Saul and his enemies, right? And David tells you the Most High delivered me from hell. Because he was catching hell under Saul, and y'all know it. Exiled, forced to live among the enemies, the land of his enemies, specifically the family of the giant that he had slew. And that was hell. Go ahead, Art. Let me know when you got it. Hold on.
Psalm 16 and 10.
Okay, I want you to read Psalms 18 and 5. First 18 1 through 5.
All right then. Psalm chapter 18 and verse 1. I will love thee, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my power, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation and my high tower. I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from mine enemies.
Now hold on, listen to what he's saying. Who is the source of contention, the source of fear? His enemies. And at this moment, he's talking about Saul. Go ahead.
Verse 3. I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. The sorrows of death compassed me.
Now,
and the
what
floods.
when you said the sorrows of death? You got to go back and read what? You got to go back and read when the Most High had David anointed king. The next thing you know, he pulls the spirit off of Saul, and what? And David goes to Saul's house David gets called to Saul's house because it was known that his plane could pull demons off of people. And it was through that dynamic, you understand, that David became the general of all the armies of Israel under the King Saul. And all it took was what? Some women coming out dancing and attributing more kills of the enemy to David than Saul, and that turned Saul against David. And David's life was in danger. On 2 occasions, it tells you Saul threw javelins trying to kill him, threw the javelin into the wall. And then Saul went on a damn odyssey, a quest, right, to kill David, killed up Levi. You remember that he went so far that even the Benjamites said, hell no. And then the Edomite servant jumped in there and killed all the Levites, the sons of Ithamar. In other words, Saul made David's life a living hell. And anybody that helped David was brought into that hell, descended into that hell imposed by Saul as well. Go ahead, I'll read on down.
Psalm 18, verse 4. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. So
you see that, ungodly men, and he's describing that as what he aforementioned as his enemies and being pursued in danger, the sorrows of death, and that was hell. So it's suffering. Now I'm going to show you another one. We're in hell. The ones that's being taught, the ones that's being spoken of in Jude, it's talking about from Adam and how the condition cascaded all the way down to us. Now I'm going to show you that. Go to Isaiah chapter 5. Let me see if it's Isaiah chapter 5. It might be 15. I'm going to make sure. Hold up. Chapter 2, 3. Hold on. It might be chapter 13 and verse 5. You know, I'm starting to get a clearer picture.
No, Isaiah 5 and 13, 14.
Okay, I knew I got it right. So I just had it inverted. That's what I call scriptural dyslexia. So it's not Isaiah chapter 5. It's not Isaiah chapter 13 and 5. It's Isaiah chapter 5. And I want you to put 5 and 13, right?
And 14, yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me get there. Yes, 13 through 15. Now it's going to show you what hell is. In other words, another paradigm that is described as hell, but it still includes suffering, but it got a little bit more. Go ahead, Amayetazar.
Isaiah chapter 5, verse 13. Therefore, my people are gone into captivity.
What is
Because they have
captivity,
no,
everybody? Captivity is slavery. Go ahead.
therefore, my people are gone into captivity because they have no knowledge.
Now, what is no knowledge? That's called ignorance. And here we are being taught the knowledge that our fathers were given to hand down to their children and their children and their children's children. That's in Psalm 78. This is what the Most High, when he says, so that the generations to come would know the works of the Lord. And here we are, thousands of years later, having to relearn first and foremost who we are. You want to see a bitter fight? The most bitter fight on the world don't have nothing to do with a boxer. It has to do with proving to your people who they are. It has to do with proving to them that we still have to what? Those that claim to believe in the Bible, that have that Christianity, right? A fierce fight ensues when you got to show them what? That we're supposed to keep the laws. Why am I saying this? Because that shows you our ignorance is endemic. Our ignorance stands out. And they're and because of that, they don't have the ability to reason. What I was talking about earlier. So just using reason in that sense. So you mean to tell me Christ died so that I could commit adultery? Because that's what they say. They say Christ died so we don't have to keep the law. Christ died so I can get mad and murder someone. I can unjustifiably take someone's life, all because, number one, I got mad and Jesus died for me. Jesus paved the way for me to kill a nigga. Jesus paid the price. Well, I ain't going to prison. I be like, nigga, Jesus paid the price. I'm up in court telling the judge, listen, man, I'm okay, I'm guilty, but Jesus paid the price. Imagine that. And that might sound comical, but it isn't. That's the level coming to you. That's the level that you got to go to reason them into hearing what they're saying. Because why? Because the level of hell, the level of ignorance that captivity have left them in is staggering. Yes, Elisha.
I was just gonna add on to that. Jeffrey Dahmer, when he got arrested and they were interviewing him, he said, look, I came to Christ now, Jesus forgiving my sins. And all those murders and all those people I hate, none of that means anything.
Let me say this out. Then he said that before they killed him, right?
Nah.
All right, so you have it. So the Most High didn't protect his ass, did he? Because I know the end of Jeffrey Dahmer. All the little Asian kids he was eating up, man. Nigga liked Asian food, clearly. The only reason why he got caught is one of them got away and was running down the street naked.
They do that.
He didn't get caught then. He just the cops sent him back to the house.
And cops said, boy, come on now, Jeffrey's paying us off. Now get your ass back to that house. Jeffrey had the cops in the neighborhood paid off. Anyway, so listen, now when it says captivity, they have no knowledge. It might sound facetious, but I'm not making jokes. That's the level of ignorance that have resulted due to captivity. We came here as Hebrews, y'all, you know that. When Esau got to the land, we were Hebrews, all right? But look at us now. And this is hell. Read on down. He's going to give us a few more conditions that describe what we know as hell, but the people call it ghetto heaven. Read on down.
Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 13. Therefore, my people are gone into captivity because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst.
Now, when it says they're honorable men, the honorable men are all of our leaders. The term famished means to be what? Literally to be hungry, look up famished, and then we're going to show you why we're famished. Because the Most High, listen, and it said, now that's the leader, right? The honorable men are famished, and their multitude, the multitude is the entire nation, dried up with thirst. So first I want him to look up famished. Then we're going to get you the scriptures in the book of Amos chapter 8 and 11 to show you what it is to be famished. And all of that is hell. And guess what it means? It literally means to be without the word of the Lord. To want it and it can't find it. This is why people go from church to church. So let's get that definition of what it is to be famished. It's an adjective. It's describing something or someone. Look at that. Starved, exhausted by want of sustenance. But what is it that our honorable men, and let's name some of these people that Esau tell us, thank you, Omiyah. What are some of these men, or who are some of these men that Esau tell us are our honorable men? You know me, I'm gonna use the old ones because I ain't in the States and I don't know who they are now. But all the people that served as social leaders, the first black mayor of this place, the first black that, oh, I marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. All of them cats, those are the ones that Esau pushed up as honorable. Now, it's not even social justice warriors, right? Activists. Now it's just what? It's actors. It's football players. It's comedians. They get their take. What do you think about so-and-so, Chris Rock? What do you think about what's going on in Ukraine, Dave Chappelle? Dave Chappelle be like, well, show me where it is on the map and I'll tell you what I think about it. Because our people can't find these places. Now, like I said, when I was growing up, you had your social and your religious and your political black leaders and Hispanic leaders and Native American leaders. But the Most High said they're famished and therefore the whole multitude is dried up with thirst. Go to Amos chapter 8 and verses what? 11 and 12 or I want the verse, it might be verse 10 where it says the Lord bringing a famine on the earth.
11.
Okay, verse 11. Thank you, Art.
Amos chapter 8 and verse 11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord power, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water,
See
but
that?
of hearing,
But
but
what?
of hearing the words of the Lord.
And that's what none of the leaders are doing. Not even Reverend this and Reverend that. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, I've never seen a speech where he opened the Bible. Never. The Honorable Malcolm X made references to it. Even today, Farrakhan, always using the Bible in couple with the Quran. Well, why don't you just tell them, why don't you use that book to tell the people who they are and why they're going through? Why they're going through what see, that's hell.
He did though.
Say that again.
He finally said that we're the true children of Israel around 2 years ago. He finally said it.
Let me say this out after untold millions of dollars.
Exactly.
And listen, he said it once, but did he build upon it?
No.
He ain't about to lose that congregation. He ain't about to lose that money. Listen, he can't cross that line. See, people think that the providence of God be holding up these people. No, it's Satan because it's Satan's time now. The Most High have yet to still reveal many of these people. That's the reality of it. But to have leaders that don't advocate on your behalf, that's hell. To have leaders, right, that have nothing to what? With which to arbitrate. Meaning they don't have the information to advocate for you. And that's what he's telling you in this verse. Continue to read on Yetazah. He said the day is going to come when the Lord is bringing a famine. Read it from the top again.
Amos chapter 8 and verse 11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord power, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord.
Now you hear that? So that's just to not have the word of the Lord is hell. Because why? Because guess what happens when you get the word of the Lord? The scriptures tell you the kingdom of the Most High come unto you when you get the truth. That's Matthew chapter 12, verse 28. If I cast out demons by the word of God, what did Christ say when he was accused? Go there real quick on the edges of Matthew chapter 12 and read verse 28.
Matthew chapter 12, verse 28. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of the Most High,
Now, when
and
it
the king,
says the Most High, In John chapter, you guys write it down, don't go there. In John chapter 6, verse 63, it tells you that the word of the Most High is his spirit. Right? It says the flesh profiteth nothing. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. So when he says, when I cast out demons by the word or by the spirit of the Most High, he's saying, I'm casting out demons through the word. Go ahead.
But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of the Most High, then the kingdom of the Most High is come unto you.
So you see that? So to get this knowledge, it already puts you in a heavenly state. Why? Because your expectations become heaven. This is what Paul meant when he said, set thy affections on things above and not below. You're motivated now by what? By heavenly expectations, by heavenly what? Motives instead of earthly, instead of getting them rims. Like you guys down there in the States be seeing these niggas with these cars that got tractor wheels on. I don't know who started that one. Niggas be having a 1977 Monte Carlo with 30s on them, right? I don't know what they do, 30-inch rims. They look like a little bitty urban tractor. You know what that is? That be Jake being spent all his money, put them rims. I did that. I had a damn car that had most of the car in my bedroom because I wanted to come out one day and have everything I want to take it to the shop, drop it, the whole time. I don't want to be riding through the hood, piecing my Mustang together. So I had all literally like my car, my bedroom. This was in the foster home. I was living in the garden. It smelled like it literally smelled like you guys. I was getting ready to go Cali on you. I don't know if a war would know where the Big House of Promo, Manchester, and Van Ness is at. But that's where I used to go to buy a lot of stuff. They had the stuff to really hook your car up. Meaning there was a time, literally weeks, years before I came to the truth, where that was my motive. Where all the sacrifices I did, with all the abstinence, because I executed abstinence, but it was so that I could get my car laid, so that I could get to Westwood and cruise and get them fine assholes. That's the reality of it. And then I not, keep getting up broke ass. Let's just, y'all know how it was, right? Because that's the worldly mentality. And so once I came, listen, that was my motive. So once I came into the truth, my affections were set on things above. That's what motivates me now, the world to come. Now, what was it? Why is that? Because beforehand, ignorant, in captivity, no leaders to teach me who I am, I was in hell. And this is why Christ said, and you shall know the truth, and the truth not set you free, the truth shall make you free, because your mind has transcended to Jerusalem. We're in captivity, but we ain't acting like captives, y'all.
True.
Like in a prison room, like in a prison yard, where you got all the gangs and it's like cutthroat shanking. I remember when I worked there, man. At night, you just listen to all the print on the ground, shanking the reverse end of their toothbrushes. And I would just be listening, walking the halls. Okay, I'm gonna flip this room. I'm gonna flip that room. We call it flipping the room. When you're going, you make him get outside, get against the wall. You got your other correction officers thing, and you go in and you tear their damn room up looking for everything. And you find all the little shanks, all the little toothbrushes, all the little weapons that they make. But that's their dynamic was based on what? Surviving in hell. My dynamic is heavenly. That's why I'm here. So that's what the scriptures is telling you. Now read, you're back in, what did you read? That was verse 11. Is verse 12 a part of it as well? We're focusing today, y'all, on what are these chains in hell, it says in first and second Peter, right? And hell, in everlasting chains of darkness. And then it said in Jude, in everlasting chains of darkness. That's what we're focusing on today, to show you who it's talking about. You'll know who it's talking about by who's in that description, by who abides under those conditions, by who is in that estate today. And that's all we're doing. All we're reading now is the ghettos and the slums and the barrios and the reservation. That's what's happening here. Go ahead, Amiyah. What you got? Is verse 12 in there as well in Amos?
Amos.
Just
No, it's just verse 11.
Read it again, please.
All right, I left it. Where we go? Amos chapter 8 and verse 11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord power, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord.
All right, so that's what it means. Now let's go back to Isaiah chapter 5 and read verse 13 from the top again.
Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 13. Therefore, my people are gone into captivity because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst.
So what are we dealing with? We're dealing with three conditions in that one verse: slavery, and as a result, ignorance, and as a result, none to advocate on your behalf with knowledge that you need. Now, what is this characterized by? The next verse. Go ahead.
Verse 14. Therefore, hell,
Therefore, meaning because of all of this, because of the aforementioned information, go ahead.
therefore, hell have enlarged herself.
That means when we went to slavery, hell got bigger, brother. And every time, and you know hell, right? Hell is like them old church slogans, room for one more. I remember growing up in one church where they had a building program that was called Room for One More. The church never got built, Doc. Never. Read on down on me yet. This verse 14 again.
Isaiah chapter 5, verse 14. Therefore, hell have enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure.
And opened her mouth as if it's a living entity without measure. That's talking about when the Most High people went into captivity and these conditions were imposed upon them, hell got bigger without measure. Go ahead.
And their glory.
Let's talk about the glory, meaning the glory of the people, meaning the fame. And we're going to read, listen, you guys are going to really like the next one we go to in the book of Lamentations. It just came to me. The glory. That means what we were once known for, huh? That beauty. The scriptures tell you we were the perfection of beauty. It says their glory. Go ahead.
And their glory and their multitude and their pomp.
The multitude is all the nation. The pomp is pride, arrogance. That thing that we have grown to be so what? So arrogant about. Go ahead.
And he that rejoiceth shall descend into it.
That means what? And everybody that was at one point happy, they all descended into it. What it? Into hell. It's conditions. Now I'm going to show you. Let's actually get, what I want to get now is darkness and change to go with this. Because that's what Jeremiah describes in the book of Lamentations, chapter. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go to Lamentations chapter 3, and I want you to read verses 1 through 7 to begin with. Then we're going to come back to chapter 1 and put what we read in chapter 3 in perspective. You'll see. So go ahead. Lamentations chapter, Lamentations is the book after Jeremiah and before Ezekiel. Lamentations chapter 3 and verses 1 through 7. Now we know what, listen, or do we need to get more? We got David. David described to us what hell is. Jonah described to us what hell is. Isaiah. Now, what's the difference between Jonah, what we read in the Psalm, and what we just read in Isaiah? David and Jonah were describing and sharing with us their personal experience of hell, and we all have that as well. Isaiah was addressing the national issue. That's what he said. They're multitudes, they're leaders. They got no knowledge. They went into captivity. So this level, and listen, there are levels of hell. You know them rapper guys or them cats from the 70s singing in them high voices, Curtis Mayfield, Betty's dead, and all that type of stuff, doing soundtrack for movies that talked about the ghetto back then.
Yeah.
Well, guess what that was about? That's about depicting that man's, his own little personal hell. And then that own little personal hell, without knowledge, guess what happened, Doc? Like Donny Hathaway, right? Got that song, they put that in the red, little ghetto boy, living in the ghetto street. What's he talking? That was that little boy's, what? That little boy's personal experience And then I think one of them rappers from the 90s took that and made it into a song and talked, and the nigga ended up going to jail, right?
That was Dr. Dre's Crossing Song.
Okay, fine. Listen, listen what I'm trying to show you. So everyone keeps using hell to go deeper into it. What do I mean when I say that? We be born, I'm saying, we be born in captivity. We grow up in a ghetto environment. You know, we grow up in broken, basically everything about our experience is dysfunctional for the most part, right? Mm-hmm. And so because we have no leaders, I'm gonna show you how the thirst and the famish actually are conditions that, you know what, when you already have kept, that was the first thing that was mentioned in Isaiah 13 and Isaiah 5. It said captivity. But why is the fact that they're famished or ignorant, why is that so important? Because that's like taking a fire and pouring gasoline on it. It makes it worse. So because of ignorance, when given in the environment of slavery, this is why most men end up in prison. Who works here? Getting raped by men. About that, y'all. And hell broadens their mind and evil. It becomes a university to get what? To go deeper into hell. You get into the prison, you find out it ain't about the Bloods and the Crips, now it's about the Blacks and the Mexicans and the whites and the Asians. And sometimes the Samoans run with the Blacks. That's how it was in the prison. So that's what, and the Native Americans, that's how it be. They don't be rolling, unless they speak their Spanish, the Native Americans don't roll too much with the Hispanics. So it's a weird thing. They almost got their own little thing. But guess what they've learned? They've learned how to go in and maneuver in a what? In a hell whose flames are hotter. But why did they get there? Because they were already in hell and they were famished. They had nobody to teach them like we have now. Think about that. Now, Job is going to address this. Go ahead, Amayetazah. Start off at chapter 3 and verse 1. I said Job, I meant Jeremiah and Lamentations.
Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 1. I am the man that have seen affliction by the rod of his wrath.
You bet y'all thought it was going to start off with that other song, huh? That song. Anybody seen that movie, Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? With George Clooney singing, I am the man, right? That country song. That's how it opens up. Listen, this is where it comes from. He said, I'm the man that have seen, listen to this, because he said, this is not Jeremiah talking about himself. When that hammer fell down on Israel, Jeremiah and the poor people, the people that were actually the most impoverished, they came up. All you gotta do is read what happened. It's in the book of Jeremiah. It's not in the Chronicles in the King. It's in the book of Jeremiah, the dynamics. That when Israel got taken away, the poor got left to stay in the land, huh? And then you had wicked ass Israelites that had hid themselves, and then they started killing the people that the Persians left in, or that the Babylonians left in charge. It was horrible. So Jeremiah is not talking about his personal experience. He's talking about the collective, just like Isaiah. Read on, Amayetazah.
Verse 2. He have led me and brought me into darkness.
Read verse 1 again.
Okay, Lamentations chapter 3 and verse 1. I am the man that have seen affliction by the rod of his wrath.
That means what? The Most High's wrath. Go ahead.
He have led me and brought me into darkness, but not into light.
Where did the Jude and 2 Peter said these angels were left at? In darkness, chains. Because he's talking about what? See, within the first level of darkness, the first level of chains was that we were stripped of our immortality. We had mortality imposed upon us because of Adam. And so we were confined now to what? To this mortal experience. And mortality is what? Is characterized by affliction and suffering, and then finalized by what? By death. That's what mortality is. You die. Now, Jeremiah is speaking about the darkness and the chains that happened what? As an extension. In other words, Jeremiah is telling us what got brought upon Israel, but then we got to read, well, why did this get brought upon Israel? And it's an extension of the curse handed down to Adam. Read on down, Amayetazar.
Verse 3. Surely against me is he turned. He turneth his hand against me all the day.
He's talking about, now, believe it or not, what he's doing is he's describing what it is to be in chains. The Most High is against you. Now, where is that new? Did not the Most High say that, you know, if you don't keep these laws, he would set what? He said he would set, everything that you set forth your hand to do, the Most High said he would bring rebuke and vexation, right? Rebuke and vexation and cursing against all that thy set is forth thy hands. That means all of your endeavors, I'm going to be against them. You're not going to open up that business. You're not going to have that farm. You're not, all of the things, all of your dreams, I'm going to turn them into nightmares. That's what he did. And people just say, how come black people can't get their act together, man? Why they always begging? Why they always looking for handouts? Why they always blaming the white man? And it's not the white man, it's us. See, if it was the white man, let me say this, like, Israelite keeps forgetting that what? That we're here because we sinned and not the other way around. We didn't become this because Esau did this. This is what we were for the reason for which we got punished. Like, we were already killing our babies. And then when you brought into America, and now look at us reporting babies. Niggas, you was burning babies. In Jerusalem. You were burning babies in Bethel. You were burning babies in Dan. This didn't make us this. This took us and exploited what we are. Took us and gave us the opportunity to be all the evil that we wanted to be. That's what it did. And in doing so, the Most High said, now what? He wore us out. Why? Because there was no manner of correction. There was nobody giving us the cause, explaining to us the cause. Everybody just having either not giving a damn or being sympathetic to your symptoms. Oh, poor little black boy born with no daddy. Oh, she didn't know. Oh, she just looking for, they make songs about how the woman is trying. No, she ain't trying. Nobody in the nation is trying unless you're coming back to the Heavenly Father. You can't be giving nobody a pass because they got a vagina. The Most High didn't. The Most High didn't care about, the Most High was killing infants. Oh, you want to kill your babies? Then he brought the enemy and showed us how it's done. He got somebody set up for us, brother, that was going to do this, what we were trying to do to perfection. And now we're crying in the white man. No, nigga, it was the black man.
Oh.
That's the reality. That's the bitter truth. And the truth is not even bitter. The truth is sweet. It's just as bitter in your mouth. If you're not one of those that have what? That have a palate for the truth. Go ahead, read on down.
Lamentations chapter 3, verse 4. My flesh and my skin have he made old. He have broken my bones.
And you see our people that, have anyone ever seen, you know, they got this saying about black don't crack. All you got to do is look at the people in the ghettos and the slums that live that horrible life, and we do age. We don't age like Esau. Esau aged like damn bananas in the refrigerator. I learned that a long time ago. Don't put your bananas in the refrigerator if you want them to last. You know, Esau aged, listen, and he do so in dog years. That's like multiply. Y'all know that. Like one human year is like 20, whatever dog years. Now take that, make it a banana and put it in the refrigerator. And that's Esau.
Wow.
Y'all know it, They got that damn, 3 or 4, 5, 6 maximum, like the whole number, 7-year window of opportunity to win beauty pageants, 7-year opportunity to be leading ladies and leading men in movies. After that, they start playing granddaddies and bitter old uncles and shit like that. Why? Because y'all see crazy people. You're still watching and still running around there playing the execution. What's the name of the movie? He's beating niggas and killing niggas with garden tools and stuff. What's the name of the movie? Like 3 or 4 of them now, or 2 of them, something like that.
Equalize.
The Equalizer. Yeah, he working at Lowe's, right? Like 60 years old working at Lowe's, killing niggas down in the potting aisle. He's still getting the roles, Think about that. Brad Pitt, he ain't recovered from 7 years in Tibet. The movie set was his own little personal refrigerator. That's the reality of it. Most time when we live that contrary life, we do extend. That's not what the Most High told Adam when you read according to the Josephus. The Most High said, I wanted to give you guys harmony. I wanted you to have a peaceful life. He said, because hard work, he said, and all that labor, he said, it brings on age and death prematurely. That's why he punished us like this. It's designed to what? To wear you down. So this is what Jeremiah, he's not talking about himself. He got a vision and he began to weep. That's what the word lamentation means. Then the weepings of Jeremiah concerning what the Most High showed him, what he was going to reduce Israel to. Read on down, huh?
Lamentation chapter 3, verse 5. He hath builded against me and compassed me with gall and travail.
Gall is bitterness. You understand? The gallbladder, that's like the section that stores the element that the liver produces so that your body can digest and assimilate fats. Then whatever isn't used, it gets stored back in what they call the gallbladder. That's bitters. That's that taste that you smell is kind of green when you vomit. So imagine that's what he's telling you. This is the life that the Most High imposed on us. Go ahead.
Verse 6. He hath set me in dark places, as they that be dead of old.
Dark places. Here we go. Now remember, he had already told us in verse 2 that he had led me and brought me into the darkness, but not light. And that darkness is talking about, number one, ignorance. Number two, I'm not saying number two, I'm mixing it. I'm not saying one is more important or has the priority of the other. But the darkness, first for a person, is ignorance. But the darkness also is what? It's evil. Remember what it said in Isaiah chapter 60. It said what? It said, arise and shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. So what does darkness look like today? Darkness looks like the LGBT movement today. You understand? Back in the 60s and 70s, darkness looked like the feminine movement. Darkness looked like Black exploitation films, believe it or not. That's when niggas started getting introduced to the idea. Whereas 5 years, 2 years earlier, 2 years earlier, guess what they was doing? They was marching and willing to die at the teeth of vicious dogs and high-powered fire water hoses skin being peeled off. And then something happened. All of a sudden, Jake started following a different path, motivated by constrained by a different idea. Pimping, the big ass hats and the furry coat and the long cars and all the women scantily clad, the Mac and this and that. And time comes to Harlem. How do you think? What made cats want to play? Who made cats want to play jazz and gospel? Yeah, whoever the artist was, right? Old day, the Scott Joplin, the king of ragtime. The entertainer. And then before you know it, somebody was inspired and got more creative. And before you know it, you got a cat named Jelly Roll Morton. Jelly Roll Morton out of Louisiana. Ferdinand was his name. King, the father of jazz. And then other people said, well, I want to put my thing on it. Before you know it, you got Chicago blues, you got bebop jazz. Five people was listening, and all of this paralleled and superseded the complexities of what? Of classical music. Classical music doesn't deal in all of those different tense musical extensions, as they call color tones. It don't deal in that. It deals in a whole lot of mechanics, some amazing, dexterity, but it stays within the parameter, major, minor, augmented, diminished, and those things. But when you started getting into all of these, all you have to do is just turn on an old Dizzy Gillespie album or Dexter Gordon on the side, a whole bunch of cats. What am I trying to share? That was the cream of the crop of us. That's what made me want to play this tenor saxophone. I grew up in love with the bass guitar, the tenor saxophone, and the piano. Just watching what cats did. So why do you think cats want to go in their garage and make beats? Because that's what Esau exposed them to. I used to watch this one group, all of these groups of the 70s. What amazed me was that by the time they were 19 or 21, these cats had amazing dexterity on all of their albums, all of their instruments. There's this one group, Brick, the guy that was, I guess he was the band leader of Brick. I don't know if y'all know about Brick. The guy, there's a song called Daz, right? Everybody knows that. That song Daz, like the rappers use it. But the guys put that together, and the person that was on the keyboard, that dude was a classically trained keyboardist. He was like 19, 20 years old, right?
Family Stone,
Huh?
Family Stone.
No, well, the family, that's a whole nother animal. The cats, they got inspired and got on it and created that funk. But this dude, there was a guy who did the flute. Let me say this: if it was an instrument that had to be blown, this dude could play it. Flute, piccolo, recorder, saxophone, trombone, trumpet, and he was bad. He'd be on stage with everything. Those are the cats that made me want to learn music, huh? And so I saw what other people got, the generations after me, and that's what made them want to do what they did. So who made cats want to start making beats? The rappers. How did this all of a sudden, like, all of our talent just fall off of a shelf? It's just like it got bulldozed. Nobody to inspire that anymore. Because that was planned. That's what our sin got us. Because we showed the Most High that we wanted degeneracy, and we didn't really know what degeneracy was. The Most High showed us because he stripped us of everything regal. He stripped us of everything with class. He stripped us of everything that was quality. And all we are now is mud. Who can't beat on the damn desk and make a rap song? And that's what little kids do when they first start talking. Relative to red, violet to blue.
Wow.
Listen, the first rappers, which was the last poet, cats wasn't that bass. Cats did all their music to jazz and percussion.
Cool.
Now you get niggas put a couple of beats and put in an endless, mindless, torturous loop and talk shit over it.
Right.
How did that happen, huh? We're reading about it. The Most High caused us to descend, and that dissension was called darkness. We're nothing, huh? We're not even a shadow, we're not even essence of a shadow of our former self. Read on down, huh? What verse you at?
Lamentations chapter 3, verse 7.
Go ahead. No, read verse 6 one more time.
Okay. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 6. He hath set me in dark places, as they that be dead of old.
Go ahead.
He have hedged me about, that I cannot get out.
Now, where is that? Because how many, I know you guys have heard that expression when a brother was being interviewed, after he got the basketball scholarship, went on to college, football scholarship, went on to college, got drafted into the NBA, the NFL. What was the first thing? They said, I wanted to get mama out the hood. That's what he's trying to say. That's what he's telling we can't get out. What out of our condition? Yeah. This is cold because it says, he had hedged me about. There's nowhere to go. And he's not talking about geography. He's talking about condition. He had hedged me about that I cannot get out. That's the phrase that they use, get mama out. I wanted to get my mama out. We had to get out the hood. Read on down. But Michael Vick found out you could get the nigga out the hood, but he couldn't get the hood out the nigga. And he ended up losing everything he had. Because what? Because he still was doing nigga things, fighting dogs. Back in the day, I was giving my son, when he was born, all these little lessons. I like, now watch this guy. And I tell him, this is what Riley, when he was really little, I said, all these cats, I said, this is what we do. We destroy ourselves. So he saw Michael Vick, I said, now watch this person. This person's gonna end up with an old raggedy ass hoe. Because Russell Wilson, the quarterback, used to correspond with Riley. He was one of his fan pages. I said, all right, don't get too close. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, men let you down. And we watched it happen. Now he's always draped with some hoe. I forget who he married. One of them singers. Yeah. Running around here raising some other kids, some other man's baby that wanted to raise his baby. But I was trying to say, watch what happens here. Watch these decisions. They even happened on the team that I haven't played on. You hear that guy talking? I told him, I said, he's going to be dead before the end of the season. 3 games later, the dude got wrapped. You know, we looked at the video of his car. He was chomped up.
Mm.
Because our people make what? We make demonic decisions. And so the Most High, believe it or not, if we understood this was punishment and we're in our right mind, then we would abide under the conditions of our punishment. Getting out gets us in trouble. What we need to learn is where we are and how to properly what? How to properly navigate through it. And the Most High, when I say properly navigate through, that means coming back to the Heavenly Father. And guess what happens? The Most High leads us out. He guides us and he shows us mercy. That's the history of our people. When did the Most High not ever listen to our cry? When we were in order with him. So you come in, you do your penitence consciously. You do this work, and guess what happens? The Most High begins to shine the light on you. Read on down on me yet. Read that verse one more time.
Lamentations chapter 3 and verse 7. He have hedged me about that I cannot get out. He have made my chain heavy.
Now everything that he's talking about are the chains that the scriptures say in Jude and 2 Peter. It's these conditions. What do chains represent? You guys don't even know that word. What is it? I want to say Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon. Daniel chapter 4, when the Most High gave Nebuchadnezzar a vision of angels coming down, the watchers chopping down a tree, leaving the stump and putting a chain on it. What was the Most High telling Nebuchadnezzar? Daniel had to break it down. The Most High going to take your wisdom, he's going to take your spirit from you, and you're going to dwell among beasts. You're going to graze like a cattle, and your hair going to grow like feathers on a bird. He was chained to being a beast. Then it says, until 7 times pass over thee. You're going to live like that for 7 years. The Most High have another one that says what? In Revelation chapter 10, and I saw an angel come down from heaven with a chain, and he put it on that dragon, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. What did that had to do as well with a condition that the Most High imposed the European civilization on after the time of what? Of the Romans. And that period of time was symbolic of the 1,000 years was symbolic of what? Of from 479, right? It's 476, something like that, when the actual Roman Empire in Rome, the king, the emperor abdicated the throne. And the Visigoths took over. And that wasn't before, not before the Visigoths sacked it on 2 occasions, 410 and 455. That's what that chain represented. And he says, after 1,000 years, Satan shall be loosed and shall go, what? And shall spread across the 4 corners of the earth. That's 1492. And what? In other words, they threw the Moors out. They expelled out 100,000 declared Jews, and then headed west to the New World and been whooping ass ever since. Why? Because the Most High released that chain. So these are the chains of darkness that we're under. And so he said, he have made my chain. He's describing all of this. And he said, he have made this chain of mine. He's describing the conditions that was restricted. And then he comes back and tells us, this is the chain. Read on down. I'll read verse 7 and 8, and then we're done with this little bit.
Lamentations chapter 3 verse 7. He have hedged me about that I cannot get out. He have made my chain heavy. Also, when I cry and shout, he shutteth out my prayer.
So that's for all them church people. All that screaming and shit ain't doing nothing to the Most High. If anything, you're going to get a longer sentence until you actually come back to him. That's where all the screaming and shouting is taking place. Screaming and crying into the Lord, Jesus, Jesus. All the music, all the dancing, all of the theatrics, catching the so-called holy tongue, or whatever they call that thing. The talking in tongues. The Most High, the Most High don't listen to that. The Most High listens to our righteousness. The Most High listens to our humility. The Most High listens to our contriteness. What is contriteness? Contriteness is a feeling bad for one's wrongdoing. Right? Paul referred to it as godly sorrow. It's reality. That's what the Most High turns his ear toward again. So we're going to continue this next week. I'm going to give you all a break and we'll come back the following week. All right. So that means next week, y'all got your thing. I'm going to be done soon, but let me see this out. You asked the question, and this is something, like I said, is you have to understand through these scriptures how to reason with the, and I'm gonna say this. I want to say, and this is, I'm conditioned to say it, common sense. But once you get it's not common sense because people don't know it, not even people that not even Bible, so-called Bible scholars. But it is reasoning sense. You just have to know the things that religion has taught us. It doesn't even make, not common sense, it doesn't make sense at all. And the reason why it doesn't make sense is because, well, I should say like this. They can't discern that it's nonsensical because they don't know the verses that explain the true account. So here you find Satan's presence and all the evil angels are what? Are they're at home in the kingdom in the spiritual realm with the Heavenly Father. There's no war. So what are we doing now? We're actually explaining. We're taking the verses and actually explaining. Next week, let me do this before we actually finish. I do want to throw in chapter 1. I want to put into perspective because what happens is Jeremiah is describing where we are, but you still want some, let's say you still want a testimony. Let's just go and get chapter 1. I'll let it explain itself. Chapter 1 is start off at verse 1. I'm gonna get this out.
Lamentation chapter 1 and verse 1. How doth the city sit solitary that was full of people?
Now, what is he doing? He's talking about, now it ain't even happened yet. He's talking about the desolation of Jerusalem that he saw. And he says, damn, nobody's here. It was full of people. Go ahead.
How is she become as a widow? She that was great among the nations.
And that's why we need to read that. Because he's showing us what, remember, now what did Jude say? Jude said we left our former estate. This is telling us how it happened in our time, or I should say the time more recent than the flood. Well, how did that translate during the time of Adam? He got kicked out the garden. And when you read the end of chapter 3 of Genesis, it talks about the cherub with the flaming sword. That was the Most High literally letting us know that he literally was putting a spiritual barrier between us and him. And that's why it explains before, he said, nope, lest he grab hold and take hold of the tree of life and live forever. And what the Most High, he had told us, if you do these things, you're going to get death. And so he cut us off from that level of virtue that we had. And we've been diminishing ever since. That's why the verse says, oh, Adam, what hast thou done? For although it was you who sinned, it says you are not fallen alone. That's the whole issue, fall of man or the fallen angels. He said, you are not fallen alone, but all we that come of thee. Now, the Most High had Adam recover from the fall, but he still was diminished because eventually what happened? He died. The punishment proved out to be true. He lived a long ass time, right? 939 years, but eventually what happened? Time got the best of him. He proved to be mortal, and everybody since then. So that's what we're going to go ahead. I'm going to get a couple of more. I'm going to show you what, read that verse one more time, verse 1.
Lamentation chapter 1, verse 1. How doth the city sit solitary that was full of people? How is she become as a widow? She that was great among the nations and princess among the provinces. How is she become tributary?
And now we're paying debt to everybody. Now we're paying taxes. And we went in, that's how the Most High took us out, paying taxes to the different kings. Go ahead.
Verse 2. She weepeth sore in the night, and her tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers, she have none to comfort her.
The lovers are talking about all the nations whose doctrine we followed after. That's also in Ezekiel chapter 16 and Ezekiel chapter 23. The Most High referred to them as our paramours. A paramour is an illicit sex partner. But it was what? It's not talking about sex. It's talking about all of the people, all the cultures whose idols we began to worship. So nobody's here for you now. Now imagine, he's describing and depicting us as far as our culture, as a woman sitting lonely in the dark with tears running down her cheeks and got screwed. Yeah. Literally got screwed. They got it ran a damn cultural train on her ass, and now nobody's there. Because why? Because she's no good. She's valueless. Go ahead.
She have none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They are become her enemies.
Because that's what the Most High prophesies in Ezekiel. All your lovers, he said, I'm going to bring them up, and they're going to treat you like a woman that's an adulteress. Listen, why did the Most High have the Assyrians coming against us in the north? Because that's whose gods we were following. Why did he have the Babylonians? This is in Ezekiel 16 and Ezekiel chapter 23. He used the people that who we idolized to what? To chastise us. He turned them against us. Go ahead, like read on down.
Verse 3. Judah is gone into captivity because of affliction and because of great servitude. She dwelleth among the heathen. She findeth no rest. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits.
This is why in chapter 1 and 2 is important, because he's setting the stage of the fall. And by the time you get to chapter 3, he's giving us what? A synopsis. He's giving us how do you say it? I don't know how to say this word in English.
Summary.
Thank you. That's exactly it. I'm gonna say I'm fighting with resuming, right? He's giving us a summary of what happened and what he described in chapters 1 and 2. So this is what he's going to us now are the details of what the overall Bible calls, or the overall condition is referred to as darkness. You understand? Darkness, hell, chain. And this is what we are to this very day. What are you waiting for, Elisha? What are you waiting for, Yeshua? What are you waiting for me? Are you not all waiting for Judgment Day?
Yeah.
Because what does Judgment Day mean for us? Judgment Day for us means what? Redemption.
Yeah.
It means salvation. Because we've been judged. The Most High is coming back to judge the world, and only those that have not come back to the Most High is going to partake in the world's judgment. But everyone else that will have come back to the Most High through Christ, what? We want to be what? We've been redeemed. We've been brought. We've been purchased already. Our tickets have been paid for. That's why I said reserved. That means what? They're waiting until what? Because the Most High have future, and the scriptures tell you all about the future use that he has for us. We're going to be the priests. We're going to be the ones that he put his spirit in, and then we're going to teach all the nations his laws. So we'll pick up from here next week, all right?
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to get it started. Yetazah?
Yeah.
We got tomorrow, but we're not on Sunday, okay?
Okay then.
I talked to a ward. We'll oh yeah, you guys, we got Purim starting tomorrow at sundown, right?
God.
And that's why they're gonna be preparing for Purim, you know.
Okay.
Okay. On Sunday sundown, I think.
Sunday sundown, Khan.
Sunday, Sunday.
So Yetazah, I'll see you tomorrow, brothers. We'll see you in 14 days.
Khan.
God.
All right, shalom, brothers.
All right. Shalom.
Or